Hanna opened her eyes slowly. Her head hurt badly. Everything around her looked white and clean, but wrong somehow. The walls were too smooth. The light came from nowhere she could see. She tried to sit up, but her body felt heavy and strange. Where was she? This was not her bedroom back on Colony 7. This was not anywhere she knew. The last thing she remembered was running. There had been loud noises in the sky. Her mother had grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the emergency shelter. Her father had been shouting something about ships. Big ships that did not belong to humans. Then there was fire. Bright green fire that burned everything it touched. Her mother had screamed. Her father had pushed both of them into a small hiding place under the floor. He had looked at Hanna with scared eyes and told her to stay quiet no matter what happened. But she had not stayed quiet. When the strange, tall beings with gray skin found the hiding place, she had screamed for her parents. She had screamed until something sharp went into her arm and everything went dark. Now she was here, wherever here was. Hanna looked around the small room. It had no windows. The door was just a flat part of the wall with no handle. She was lying on something that might have been a bed, but it felt too hard and cold. Her clothes were different too. Instead of her favorite blue dress, she wore a thin gray shirt and pants that did not fit right. She stood up carefully. Her legs shook a little, but they worked. She walked to the door and pushed against it. Nothing happened. She pushed harder. Still nothing. She hit it with her fists, but it made no sound at all. Fear started to grow in her chest like a cold flower blooming. A part of the wall became clear like glass. Behind it stood 3 tall beings. They had gray skin that looked wet and shiny. Their heads were too long and their eyes were too big and black. They had no hair at all. When they opened their mouths, Hanna could see too many sharp teeth. These were the beings that had taken her. These were the ones who had destroyed her home. One of them made sounds that might have been words, but not in any language Hanna knew. The sounds were harsh and clicking like insects talking. The being pointed at her with a long, thin finger. The other 2 made more clicking sounds. Hanna pressed herself against the far wall. She wanted to disappear. She wanted to wake up in her real bed with her mother making breakfast downstairs, and her father reading the news on his tablet. But this was real. The cold wall behind her was real. The strange beings watching her were real. The fact that her parents were gone was real too. One of the beings touched something on the wall next to the glass. Suddenly Hanna could understand their words. The sounds still clicked and hissed, but somehow her mind knew what they meant. "The human young one is awake." "Commander Veltar," said the first being. The tallest one, who must have been Commander Veltar, stepped closer to the glass. His black eyes looked at Hanna like she was some kind of bug. "How old is this specimen?" 13 of their years, according to the scans. Perfect. Old enough to understand fear, but young enough to be tender. Commander Veltar made a sound that might have been laughing. "The Nethrix has not eaten for many cycles. It grows weak from hunger. This will give it strength." Hanna did not know what a Nethrix was, but the way they talked about it scared her. The way they talked about her scared her more. "Should we prepare the feeding chamber now?" asked the third being. "Not yet. Let the human young one sit with her fear for a while. Fear makes the meat taste better. The Nethrix enjoys that." They turned away from the glass. The wall became solid white again. Hanna was alone. She sank to the floor and wrapped her arms around her knees. The aliens had said something about feeding her to a creature called a Nethrix. They talked about her like she was food, like she was nothing more than meat. But Hanna was not just meat. She was Hanna Kim, 13 years old, from Colony 7. She liked to read books about space explorers. She was good at math and terrible at singing. Her favorite food was her grandmother's rice cakes. She had dreams of becoming a pilot someday and flying between the stars. She was a person. She mattered. The aliens did not seem to understand this. To them, humans were just things to be used. But they were wrong. Hanna knew they were wrong. She thought about her parents. Her mother had been so brave during the attack. Her father had risked his life to hide her. They had died trying to protect her. She could not let their sacrifice mean nothing. Hanna stood up again. She walked around the small room looking for anything that might help her escape. The walls were completely smooth. The bed was too light to use as a weapon. There was nothing else in the room at all, but she was still alive. As long as she was alive, she could think. She could plan. She could wait for a chance. The aliens thought humans were weak. Maybe that was good. Maybe they would not watch her as carefully as they should. Maybe they would make a mistake. Hanna sat on the edge of the bed and made herself calm down. She needed to be smart about this. She needed to pay attention to everything. When the aliens came for her, she would be ready. She did not know what a Nethrix was, but she was not going to die without a fight. Her parents had been fighters. Her grandmother had been a fighter too, back when she was young and the first colony ships were exploring new worlds. Fighting was in her blood. Hanna closed her eyes and tried to remember everything her father had taught her about being brave. Being brave did not mean not being scared. Being brave meant doing what you had to do even when you were scared. She was very scared. But she was also very angry, and sometimes anger could be stronger than fear. The aliens would learn that soon enough. The door opened with a soft hissing sound. Hanna had been waiting for hours or maybe days. Time felt different in the white room with no windows. She had tried to sleep, but every time she closed her eyes, she saw her parents falling under the green fire. 3 Vorthak guards entered her cell. They were smaller than Commander Veltar, but their black eyes held the same cold look. They carried long metal sticks that sparked with blue electricity at the tips. "Move, human meat," said the first guard. His voice came through the same translation device that let her understand their words. "Time to meet your purpose." Hanna stood up slowly. Her legs felt weak from sitting so long, but she tried not to show it. She remembered what her father always said about bullies: never let them see you weak. It only makes them worse. The guards surrounded her as they walked through long halls. The walls here were darker than in her cell. They curved in strange ways that made Hanna feel dizzy. Sometimes she could hear sounds from behind the walls. Clicking noises, humming. Once something that sounded like screaming, but not from any human throat. They passed other rooms with glass windows. Inside some of them, Hanna saw creatures she had never imagined. A thing like a giant spider with too many eyes. Something that looked like a tree, but its branches moved without any wind. A small being with blue fur that pressed its tiny hands against the glass and made sad crying sounds. "All prisoners. All food for something else. Where are you taking me?" Hanna asked. The guard behind her poked her back with his electric stick. Not hard enough to hurt badly, but enough to make her stumble forward. "Quiet, meat. The Nethrix does not like noisy food." They went down, and down, and down. The air grew colder and started to smell different. Like old metal and something else. Something that reminded Hanna of the zoo back on Colony 7, where the big animals lived. Finally, they reached a massive door. It was made of black metal and covered with symbols that hurt to look at. 2 more guards stood beside it. They nodded to Hanna's escorts and began pressing buttons on a control panel. The door opened slowly. Beyond it lay darkness so complete that Hanna could not see anything at all. But she could hear something breathing in that darkness. Something very, very large. "Go," said the guard behind her. "I want to stay here," Hanna said. Her voice came out smaller than she wanted. The guard laughed. It was not a nice sound. "The Nethrix is hungry. It has not eaten for many cycles. You should feel honored. You will give strength to a creature older than your entire species." The other guards pushed her forward. Hanna stumbled into the darkness. Behind her, the great door began to close. The last thing she saw was the guards watching her through the shrinking gap of light. They looked excited, like children watching a new entertainment program. Then the door sealed shut with a deep boom that echoed in the darkness. Hanna stood very still and tried to see anything around her. Slowly, her eyes began to adjust. There was a little light coming from somewhere above. Not much, but enough to see shapes. She was in a huge chamber. The ceiling disappeared into shadows high above her head. The walls were so far away she could barely make them out, and everywhere, thick metal chains hung from the ceiling and walls. Some of them were bigger around than Hanna's whole body. Something moved in the deepest shadows. Hanna's heart started beating so fast, she thought it might explode. She wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. The door behind her was solid metal. The chamber was too big to cross before whatever lived here caught her. 2 enormous eyes opened in the darkness. They glowed like red stars and were bigger than dinner plates. They looked at Hanna with intelligence that was old and angry and sad all at the same time. The creature moved closer. Each step shook the floor under Hanna's feet. She saw scales that looked like black glass, claws as long as swords, wings folded against a body that could have crushed her house back on Colony 7. It was a dragon, not like the ones in old Earth stories, but close enough, beautiful and terrible and magnificent, The dragon was also chained. Thick metal bonds circled its neck, legs, and wings. The chains were connected to the walls and ceiling. Even lying down, the creature filled most of the massive chamber. It lowered its great head until it was level with Han-Na. She could feel heat from its breath. She could smell fire and metal and something else, something that smelled like sadness. "Another small one sent to feed me," the dragon said. Han-Na jumped. The voice came from inside her head, not through her ears. It was deep and warm and tired. "You can talk," she whispered. "I am Do-hyun. I have been talking for longer than your world has known fire. But the Grey Ones do not care about my words. They care only that I am their weapon." Han-Na looked at the chains holding the dragon. "They keep you prisoner too. For 300 of your years." Do-hyun's eyes grew brighter. "They took me from my home. They killed my family. They made me fight in their wars. When I grew tired of killing for them, they chained me here and feed me prisoners to keep me alive. That's horrible. Yes. But you are different from the others they have brought me." "How?" Do-hyun moved his massive head closer. Han-Na could see her reflection in his red eyes. "The others begged. They cried. They tried to bargain for their lives. You stand straight and ask me questions. You are not running in circles like a scared animal." Han-Na swallowed hard. "I am scared. But running won't help. No, it will not." Do-hyun was quiet for a long moment. "You remind me of someone. My daughter was brave like you. Before they killed her." Tears started in Han-Na's eyes, not from fear but from sadness for this great creature who had lost his family just like she had lost hers. "I'm sorry," she said. "Why do you feel sorry for a monster? You're not a monster. The Grey Ones are monsters. You're just trapped like me." Do-hyun lifted his head and looked at her with something that might have been surprise. "What is your name, small brave one?" "Han-Na." "Han-Na Kim." "Han-Na Kim. I will not eat you." "Then what will you do?" The dragon's eyes glowed brighter. "I will remember what it feels like to have hope." Han-Na had been in the dragon's chamber for 3 days. She knew this because Do-hyun told her when the lights above grew dim and bright again. The Vorthax had not come back yet. Maybe they were waiting to see if the dragon would change his mind and eat her. She sat near Do-hyun's great head, leaning against the warm scales of his neck. The dragon's body heat kept her from getting too cold in the big chamber. At first she had been afraid to get so close. But Do-hyun moved very carefully around her like she was made of glass. "Tell me about your world," Do-hyun said inside her mind. His mental voice was becoming easier to hear. "Tell me about the place where you learned to be brave." Han-Na smiled a little. Colony 7 wasn't very exciting. We had about 50,000 people living there. My family ran a farm that grew food for the colony. We had fields of grain that looked like gold oceans when the wind blew through them. "Your parents were farmers?" "Yes, but my father used to be a soldier before I was born. He fought in the war against the pirates who attacked the outer colonies. My mother was a teacher. She taught little kids how to read and write." Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. "They sound like good people." "They were the best people." Han-Na felt tears starting again, but she wiped them away. "My father taught me how to fix machines. My mother taught me about the stars. They said I could be anything I wanted when I grew up." "What did you want to be?" "A pilot. I wanted to fly ships between the stars and explore new worlds." "Stupid, right? Now I'll never see the stars again." "It is not stupid to dream of flying," Do-hyun said. His voice in her mind was gentle. "I once flew between stars myself. My people traveled the galaxy long before the Grey Ones learned to leave their poisoned world." Han-Na sat up straighter. "Your people could fly in space? We did not need ships like other beings. Our wings could carry us through the void itself. We breathed starlight and rode the solar winds. It was freedom like nothing else in the universe." "That sounds amazing. What happened to them?" "Your people, I mean." Do-hyun's mental voice grew sad and angry. "The Vorthax happened. They hunted us across dozens of worlds. They said we were too dangerous to live free, too powerful. They wanted to use us as weapons in their wars, but most of my people chose death instead." "But you didn't." "No, I had a daughter. Her name was Se-Rim. She was young, barely more than a hatchling. I thought I could protect her if I pretended to serve the Grey Ones. I was wrong." Han-Na put her small hand on one of Do-hyun's scales. It was smooth and warm, like polished stone that had been sitting in sunlight. "What happened to her?" "They killed her when I refused to destroy a city full of innocent people. They made me watch. Then they chained me here and told me that if I ever disobeyed again, they would find more of my kind to torture. That's horrible. I'm so sorry. You say that often, small one. Why do you feel sorry for the pain of others? Hanna thought about it. Because pain is pain. It doesn't matter if you're human or dragon or anything else. Nobody should have to hurt alone. Do-hyun was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was different, warmer somehow. You are very wise for one so young. Se-rim would have liked you. I would have liked her too. They sat together in comfortable silence. Hanna found herself feeling less afraid than she had since waking up on the alien ship. Do-hyun was scary to look at, but his mind felt safe. Kind, like her grandfather's had before he died. Do-hyun, she said, can you teach me things? About the universe, I mean. If I'm going to die here, I want to learn as much as I can first. You are not going to die here. How do you know? Because I will not let it happen. And because you have something special inside you. Hanna frowned. What do you mean? Close your eyes, Do-hyun said. Listen to my voice and try to feel the space around you. Not with your eyes or ears, with something deeper. Hanna closed her eyes. At first she felt nothing different. But slowly something strange began to happen. She could sense Do-hyun's presence even without looking at him. It was like a warm light in her mind. I can feel you, she whispered. Good. Now try to reach out further. Feel the walls. The chains. The ship around us. Hanna tried to stretch her awareness outward. It was hard, like trying to use a muscle she had never known she had. But gradually she began to sense more. The cold metal walls. The heavy chains holding Do-hyun. The vibration of the ship's engines far above them. This is impossible, she said, opening her eyes. Not impossible. Natural. Some beings are born with minds that can touch the world around them. Your species calls it psychic ability. Most humans have only a tiny spark of it. But you, young Hanna, you have much more. How do you know? Because I can see it when I look into your mind. You glow like a small star. The gray ones do not know what they have captured. If they did, they would never have brought you near me. Why? What happens when someone like me is near someone like you? Do-hyun's eyes glowed brighter. We can share power. Your mind can make mine stronger. My knowledge can help your abilities grow. Together, we might be able to do things that neither of us could do alone. Hanna felt a strange tingling in her hands. What kind of things? Perhaps we could find a way to break these chains. Perhaps we could escape this prison. Perhaps we could make the gray ones pay for what they have done. You really think we could escape? I think, small brave one, that the Vorthax have made a very big mistake. They wanted to feed you to a monster. Instead, they have given that monster a reason to fight back. Hanna smiled for the first time since her capture. Then let's start learning. If we're going to escape, I need to know everything you can teach me. Everything will take a very long time. Then we better start now. Do-hyun made a sound that might have been laughter. Yes, we had better start now. Hanna was sitting beside Do-hyun, practicing the mental exercises he had taught her. She was learning to reach out with her mind and touch the metal walls around them. It was getting easier each time she tried. But when the great door began to open, her concentration broke. They return, Do-hyun said in her mind. Remember what I taught you, stay calm. Do not let them see how much you have learned. Commander Veltar entered with 6 guards. His black eyes looked angry as he stared at Hanna sitting safely next to the dragon's head. She could see his confusion. The human should have been eaten days ago. Why does the Nethrix not feed? Veltar demanded. His voice came through the translation device, harsh and clicking. Do-hyun lifted his great head and looked down at the Vorthak commander. When he spoke aloud, his voice was like distant thunder. The meat is too thin, too small. It would not even fill one tooth. Bring me something larger. Hanna had to work hard not to show her surprise. Do-hyun was lying to protect her. But would the aliens believe him? Veltar stepped closer, his long fingers tapping against his weapon. You have never refused food before, beast. What has changed? I grow tired of scraps, Do-hyun said. You feed me children and weaklings. I want something that will satisfy my hunger. Something that fights back. The human child still lives because you are playing with your food? Perhaps. Veltar made that horrible laughing sound again. Very well. We will leave it here longer. Let your games continue. But when you finally feed, we will watch. The crew enjoys entertainment. He turned to leave, but then stopped. Oh, and beast, do not think that because we allow this small delay, you have any power here. You are still our weapon. Soon we will need you to fight again. A human colony world resists our rule. You will burn it for us. Do-hyun's eyes flared brighter. I will not. You will. Or we will bring you 100 human children to watch die slowly. The dragon's whole body tensed. The chains holding him creaked under the strain. For a moment, Hanna thought he might break free right then and attack the Vortex, but Do-hyun controlled himself. I understand, he said through gritted teeth. Good. 3 days, beast. Then you feed and then you fight. The Vortex left. The great door sealed behind them with its deep boom. In the silence that followed, Hanna could hear Do-hyun breathing hard with anger. They want you to destroy another human world, she said quietly. Yes. And I cannot refuse. If I do, they will hurt innocents to punish me. They have done it before. There has to be another way. There is. But it is dangerous. If we fail, they will do worse things to both of us before they kill us. Hanna stood up and faced the dragon. Tell me. We must try to escape tonight before they move us to the battle deck. But how? Your chains are too strong and the door is locked. Do-hyun looked at her with glowing eyes. This is where your gift becomes important, young one. I have been teaching you to feel the world around you with your mind, but there is more you can do. You can touch the machines that control this ship. You can speak to them. I don't understand. Put your hand on the wall, the metal wall behind you. Close your eyes and reach out with your mind like I taught you. But this time, try to go deeper. Try to find the electricity that flows through the metal. Hanna pressed her palm against the cold wall. She closed her eyes and stretched out with her thoughts. At first, she felt only the solid metal, but then deeper she sensed something else. Lines of energy flowing through hidden wires. It felt alive somehow, like a river of lightning. I can feel it, she whispered. Good. Now try to follow those lines. See where they go, what they connect to. Hanna pushed her awareness further along the electrical pathways. She could sense the energy flowing to different parts of the ship. Some lines went to lights, others to air systems, and some went to something that felt like a brain made of metal and electricity. There's something big, she said, like a computer but enormous. That is the ship's main brain, the thing that controls everything. The locks, the weapons, the life support, everything. You want me to touch it? I want you to talk to it. Machines that think can be convinced, just like living beings. But only someone with your gift can speak their language. Hanna felt scared. The computer felt so big and complex. What if I break something? What if I hurt people? The only people on this ship are enemies. And if we do nothing, they will use me to hurt more innocents. Hanna took a deep breath. What do I say to it? Tell it you're human. Tell it your name. See if it responds. Hanna pushed her mind further along the electrical lines until she touched the edge of the great computer brain. It felt cold and strange, like touching the surface of an alien ocean. Hello? She thought as clearly as she could. My name is Hanna Kim. I am human. For a moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly, information flooded into her mind. Images, numbers, star charts, technical data about the ship and its weapons. It was too much, too fast. Hanna cried out and pulled her hand away from the wall. What happened? Do-hyun asked urgently. It answered, Hanna said, breathing hard. It showed me things. Maps of the ship. Information about the Vortex. I think it was trying to help me. Impossible. Vorthak computers are programmed to obey only Vorthak commands. Maybe this one is different. Maybe it doesn't like them either. Do-hyun was quiet for a long moment. Try again. But go slower this time. Ask it specific questions. Hanna put her hand back on the wall. This time she approached the computer mind more carefully. Can you help us escape? She asked it silently. Images flowed into her mind, but gentler this time. She saw the door controls, the chain release mechanisms, the path to the hangar where the small ships were kept. It knows how to free you, she told Do-hyun excitedly. It can open the doors and release your chains. Why would it help us? Hanna asked the computer mind that same question. The answer came as a feeling rather than words. Sadness, loneliness, the sense of being forced to do things it did not want to do. It's a prisoner too, she said. Just like us. The Vortex made it help them hurt people and it hates them for it. Then we have an ally. Ask it when the guard changes happen. When the hallways will be most empty. Hanna communicated with the computer for several more minutes, learning about the ship's routines and security systems. When she finally pulled away from the wall, she was smiling. Tonight, she said, 2 hours after the lights dim, Most of the crew will be sleeping. It can guide us to a ship. Are you ready for this, young Hanna? Once we begin, there will be no turning back. Hanna thought of her parents, of the human colony world the Vorthax wanted Do-hyun to destroy, of all the other prisoners in cells throughout the ship. I'm ready, she said. Let's get out of here. The lights above dimmed to their nighttime setting. Hanna sat beside Do-hyun, counting the minutes. Her heart was beating so fast she was sure the dragon could hear it. In 2 hours they would either be free or dead. Are you afraid? Do-hyun asked quietly in her mind. Terrified, Hanna admitted, but also excited. For the first time since they took me, I feel like I can do something instead of just waiting. Good. Fear can make you careful, but too much fear can make you freeze. Remember that tonight, Hanna nodded. She had been practicing with the ship's computer for hours. The AI had shown her how to control different systems throughout the vessel. It was strange talking to a machine mind, but the computer seemed almost eager to help. Like it had been waiting for someone to give it a chance to fight back. It's time, she whispered. Hanna placed her hand on the wall and reached out to the ship's brain. Are you ready? She asked it silently. The computer responded with feelings of determination mixed with something that felt like joy. It had waited so long for this moment. The guards are changing shifts now, Hanna told Do-hyun. The computer is going to release your chains first, then open the door. Remember, once I am free, we must move quickly. The ship's sensors will detect that my bonds are broken. We will have perhaps 10 minutes before every Vorthak on the vessel comes looking for us. Hanna took a deep breath. Do it, she told the computer. There was a series of loud clicking sounds as ancient mechanisms activated. The massive chains holding Do-hyun began to retract into the walls and ceiling. The dragon stretched his wings for the first time in centuries, and Hanna gasped at how enormous he truly was. His wingspan filled the entire chamber. Freedom, Do-hyun whispered. I had forgotten what it felt like. Alarms suddenly began wailing throughout the ship. Red lights flashed on and off. The computer had tried to hide what was happening, but the Vorthax had noticed anyway. They know, Hanna said. The computer says guards are running this way. Then we leave now. The great door began to open. Beyond it, Hanna could see Vorthak soldiers running down the corridor toward them. They carried their electric weapons and were shouting in their clicking language. Do-hyun moved faster than anything that large should have been able to move. He lunged through the doorway, his claws striking the first guards before they could react. His fire breath turned their weapons to melting metal. In seconds, the corridor was filled with smoke and the smell of burned electronics. This way, Hanna called, following the mental map the computer had given her. The hangar is up 3 levels. They ran through the ship's corridors. Do-hyun had to fold his wings tight against his body to fit through the passages built for smaller beings. Behind them, Hanna could hear more guards coming. The sound of boots on metal floors. Angry voices. The whine of charging weapons left here, Hanna said as they reached a junction. The computer was guiding her through the safest route, but safe was relative. They could hear fighting everywhere as the ship's crew tried to organize a response. They reached a lift that would take them up to the hangar level. Hanna put her hand on the control panel and asked the computer to operate it. The doors opened immediately. Hurry, she said to Do-hyun. The dragon squeezed into the lift just as a group of guards rounded the corner behind them. The doors closed as electric bolts struck the metal, leaving black scorch marks. They will be waiting for us above, Do-hyun said. The hangar will be heavily defended. The computer is going to help with that too. It's going to turn off the artificial gravity in the hangar and open all the airlocks at once. That will kill anyone not wearing protection suits. Good, Hanna said grimly. They killed my parents. They were going to feed me to you. They deserve whatever happens to them. Do-hyun looked at her with something that might have been pride. You are learning to think like a warrior. The lift stopped. The doors opened to reveal chaos. The hangar was a huge space filled with small Vorthak ships, but just as the computer had promised, there was no gravity. Vorthak guards floated helplessly in the air, gasping for breath as the atmosphere rushed out through open airlocks. Do-hyun spread his wings and flew across the hangar like he had been born to it. Hanna held tight to the scales on his neck, amazed at how gracefully he moved through the zero gravity. They landed beside a sleek ship that looked faster than the others. Can you fly this? Do-hyun asked. Hanna put her hands on the ship's hull and reached out with her mind. Immediately, she felt the vessel's systems respond to her touch. It was like the ship wanted to fly again. Yes, she said, I can make it work. The ship's door opened at her mental command. They climbed inside just as emergency bulkheads began sealing the hangar. The Vortex were trying to restore atmosphere and gravity. Hanna sat in the pilot's seat and placed her hands on the control panel. The ship's computer was simpler than the main vessel's brain, but it spoke to her just as clearly. She could feel its engines, its weapons, its navigation systems. All of it was under her control. How do you know how to do this? Do-hyun asked, amazed. I don't know. It just feels natural. Like the machines want to help me. The ship lifted off the hangar floor. Through the viewport, Hanna could see Vorthak fighters scrambling to launch, but she was already moving, guided by instincts she did not understand. Hold on, she told Do-hyun. The ship shot out of the hangar and into open space. Stars blazed all around them, beautiful and free. Hanna felt the ship's computer download navigation data directly into her mind. She could see star charts, trade routes, the locations of human colonies. Where do we go? Do-hyun asked. Hanna smiled as she set course for the nearest human world. Home, we're going home. And we're taking something with us that will change everything. What is that? Information. The ship's computer downloaded the entire Vorthak database into my mind. I know where all their bases are. I know their military plans. I know where they're keeping other prisoners. The humans will be able to fight back. More than that. They'll be able to win. Behind them, the massive Vorthak ship grew smaller and smaller until it was just another star in the darkness. Ahead lay freedom and the chance to strike back against the enemies who had taken everything from them. But most importantly, they had each other. A human girl and an ancient dragon, bound together by shared loss and the determination to make sure no one else would suffer as they had suffered. The war was just beginning. 3 days later, their stolen ship approached New Sol Colony. Hanna watched the blue and green world grow larger through the viewport, and for the first time since her capture, she felt something close to happiness. But it was mixed with worry. How would the humans react to seeing a 13-year-old girl arrive with an enormous alien dragon? They might try to shoot us down, she told Do-hyun. They'll think you're attacking. Then we must show them we come in peace, the dragon replied. Can you contact their communication systems from here? Hanna reached out with her mind to touch the colony's defense network. It was different from Vorthak technology, but her gift seemed to work with any kind of machine. She found the main communication center and gently made contact. This is Hanna Kim, she broadcast to the colony. I am human. I'm coming home. Please don't shoot. The response came immediately. This is Admiral Lee of the Colonial Defense Force. Identify your vessel and state your business. I escaped from the Vortex. I have important information about their military plans, and I have a friend with me who helped me escape. There was a long pause. Then Admiral Lee's voice came back, tense and suspicious. What kind of friend? Hanna looked at Do-hyun. The dragon nodded encouragingly. His name is Do-hyun. He's a Nethrix. The Vorthax held him prisoner for 300 years and forced him to fight in their wars. He helped me escape and he wants to help us fight back. Another pause, longer this time. A Nethrix? Those are the creatures that destroyed the Epsilon station. Not by choice, Hanna said quickly. The Vorthax controlled him. Made him do it. He hates them as much as we do. Stand by. Hanna waited nervously as the colony's leaders discussed what to do. She could sense their defense ships moving into position around her vessel. They were ready to attack if they thought Do-hyun was a threat. Finally, Admiral Lee came back on the communication system. You may land at Military Base 7. Come down slowly and keep your weapons powered down. Any aggressive moves and we will fire. Understood. Hanna guided their ship down to the landing pad Admiral Lee had indicated. As they descended, she could see hundreds of human soldiers surrounding the area. Tanks and missile launchers were pointed at their ship. Everyone looked ready for a fight. They're scared, Do-hyun observed. Can you blame them? The last time they saw one of your people, he was burning their cities. No, I cannot blame them. Fear is a reasonable response to someone like me. The ship touched down gently. Hanna could see soldiers moving closer but keeping their distance. She opened the ship's door and stepped out first, her hands raised to show she was not armed. A woman in a military uniform approached cautiously. She had general's stars on her collar and graying hair tied back in a tight knot. Her eyes were kind but alert. I am General Park, she said. Are you really Hanna Kim? The girl who disappeared when the Vorthax attacked Colony 7? Yes, ma'am. My Aunt So-jin and Uncle Minho live here. They run a restaurant in the civilian sector. General Park nodded. We've already contacted them. They're on their way here. She looked past Hanna toward the ship. Where is this Nethrix? In the ship. He's waiting for permission to come out. He doesn't want to scare anyone more than necessary. How big is he? Very big. And very powerful. But also very gentle once you get to know him. General Park spoke into a small device on her collar. All units maintain positions but hold fire unless I give the order. She looked back at Hanna. Tell him he can come out slowly. Hanna called to Do-hyun with her mind. You can come out now, but move very slowly. They're nervous. The dragon emerged from the ship like a mountain coming to life. Even moving carefully, his presence was overwhelming. The soldiers around the landing pad took involuntary steps backward. Some raised their weapons despite General Park's orders. Do-hyun folded his wings against his body and lowered his head in a gesture of respect. When he spoke, his voice was carefully controlled and gentle. I greet you, humans of New Seoul. I am Do-hyun of the Nethrix. I come seeking alliance against our common enemy. General Park stared up at the dragon for a long moment. You can talk, I can do many things. But what I wish to do most is help you protect your people from the Grey Ones who have hurt us both. The Vorthax forced you to attack human colonies? For 3 centuries, they used pain and threats to make me their weapon. They killed my family when I tried to resist. I have much to make up for. Hanna stepped forward. General Park, Do-hyun isn't our enemy. The real enemy is the Vorthax, and I brought back information that can help us defeat them. What kind of information? Everything. Their ship locations, their military plans, the positions of their fleet, where they're keeping human prisoners. All of it is in my head. Hanna tapped her temple. Their computer downloaded it all when I was escaping. General Park's eyes widened. How is that possible? I can talk to machines with my mind. Do-hyun taught me how. It's something some humans can do, but most of us never learn. A group of people came running across the landing pad. Hanna turned and saw her Aunt So-jin and Uncle Minho pushing through the crowd of soldiers. Her aunt was crying and her uncle looked like he had seen a ghost. Hanna, So-jin called out. Oh, my dear girl, we thought you were dead. Hanna ran to them and felt herself wrapped in warm, familiar arms. For a moment, she was just a 13-year-old girl who had been through terrible things and needed her family. I missed you so much, she whispered. We never stopped looking for you, Minho said. Never stopped hoping. When they finally separated, So-jin looked past Hanna to where Do-hyun waited patiently. Is that really a dragon? His name is Do-hyun. He saved my life. He's my friend. So-jin looked uncertain, but she walked closer to the dragon. Do-hyun lowered his great head until he was at her eye level. Thank you for protecting our Hanna, So-jin said quietly. She protected me as much as I protected her. Do-hyun replied. Your niece is very brave. You should be proud. We are. General Park cleared her throat. This is all very touching, but we need to debrief both of you immediately. If you really have intelligence about Vorthak operations, it could change the course of the war. There's something else, Hanna said. I can teach other humans to use their psychic abilities. To communicate with machines like I do, with the right training, we could turn the Vorthak's own technology against them. And I can teach your warriors how to fight, Do-hyun added. The Vorthaks have many enemies across the galaxy. Together, we could free all the peoples they have enslaved. General Park looked from the girl to the dragon and back again. I think, she said slowly, that everything is about to change. Hanna smiled and took Do-hyun's massive claw in her small hand. Yes, she said. Everything is going to change, and this time we're going to be the ones doing the changing. Around them, human soldiers began to lower their weapons. For the first time in the war against the Vorthaks, they had hope. They had allies, and they had a 13-year-old girl who could speak to machines and dream of flying between the stars. The real fight was just beginning. But now they had a chance to win.